This video is brought to you by Walrus Audio and the Aegis 5-state overdrive. The Aegis is a massively versatile overdrive machine ready for any amp and pickup combination. Check out the Aegis and their other soundscaping devices at walrusaudio.com.
Hi, I'm Dweezil Zappa, and my guest today is the Italian virtuoso himself, Steve Vai. Welcome, Steve.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
We have so much to explore, and one of the things that we should do before we get into any specific Van Halen stuff is we have to get into the sort of Kevin Bacon style connection here. You know how everybody says that Kevin Bacon's somehow connected to everybody on Earth?
There he is.
Yeah. So we have a mystery to unravel, and it regards the whole way that I ended up meeting Edward Van Halen for the first time and working with him and stuff. So let's see if we can figure this out. He's connected to us because how it worked for me was a call came to the house, and my mom picked up the phone, said there's a guy saying he's Eddie Van Halen. And at the time, there was no MTV. There were no shows where you could see musicians being interviewed on television.
Right.
You might have heard an interview and hear their voice, but probably not. You mostly just had a record.
We didn't know what anybody sounded like.
Yeah, you just had a record and you had liner notes.
Yeah.
So here's a guy calling the house randomly. It was about, I think, 8:30 at night, something like that. And so he says it's Eddie Van Halen, and my mom says, get on the phone and see if you can tell if it's him. I'm like, how am I going to know? I'm like, I guess it's him. And then my dad ends up picking up the phone. They start talking for probably 10 or 15 minutes.
Really?
And then 10 minutes later, Ed's at the house. So it went from, there's a guy saying he's Eddie Van Halen to my dad getting on the phone and I guess deciding that it was Eddie Van Halen, gave him the address, and he says he's coming over. And so I had been listening to Van Halen 1 and Fair Warning for weeks or months at that point. I was 12 years old, just started playing guitar. I was playing for, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 months maybe. The news is that he's on his way to the house. So I'm like, this is the craziest thing of all time. And he arrives, and he comes up, and he's holding a guitar, not in a case. It's a purple guitar with a black piece of tape over the headstock. And he walks into the house, and he's walking up a staircase because we had a staircase at the bottom of the entrance to the studio. And I've said this before, but it sounded, or it looked as though he was backlit with a smoke machine, and it was like a movie. It was like a superhero. He's coming up the steps.
Yeah, I think if I was 15, how old
12.
were you? I think if I was 12 and Edward Van Halen was walking up my steps, I would see smoke and light and,
yeah, it was the craziest. But then he's in the ultimate superhero costume, the Women and Children First jumpsuit. And no shirt, the jumpsuit's open. He's got the necklace with the Van Halen logo and the guitar, and he's walking up the stairs. And so, obviously, like within seconds, the first thing that happens is I'm like a puppy that's like
that's crazy.
I gotta see what's happening.
It must have been like
and I was like, you got to play Mean Street. So he picks up the guitar, and it's funny because the very first thing he did, can you hand me a guitar for 1 second? Because
this is a 7-string acoustic.
Well, I just need, so this is obviously unplanned, but I remember the very first thing that he did was
obviously untuned too.
Close enough. Yeah. All right, so this is what he does. The very first lick, he plugs in, and he plays this.
Oh, you remember?
Yeah. I saw it, and it burned into my mind, and I will never forget it. Running with the Dweezil is found exclusively at dweezilzappa.com, a reward music-powered artist site.